Let's spot files to their original locations, it'll be fun, said no one ever. So today we're addressing the tedious task of spotting files to their original timestamp in Pro Tools, which normally you would do with the Spot tool. Click on an audio region, it opens a Spot dialog, and you would click on Original Timestamp. Normally when you're spotting something to the original location, you have to open the Spot dialog after clicking an audio region and then click the little arrow next to original timestamp to get it to go to its original timestamp location, which is a pretty tedious task. However, there's a much faster way to do this using macros, so let's get into it and I'll show you how. So I'm going to start just by pressing my Spot to original timecode button and we'll watch the audio region disappear. No, just kidding, it went down the timeline to where it was supposed to go, its original location. We'll try this one more time with another button press on that region. So I'm pressing the button now, and there it goes, down the timeline to the original time code it was created at, just like I wanted it to. So one button press per region isn't bad, but what if we could get all of this done in one fell swoop? So I'm going to use my multi button that you just saw me indicate there to move all of these 25 regions down the timeline to their original timestamps. Let me press the button. There they go. So yeah, it's much more satisfying to watch this macro do a task that would take me much longer and have it just do it automatically. So the next thing I'm going to do in this video is show you first how we program the single spotting thing to work. So if there's only one region that you want to move down, it'll do that. But then I'll show you how to get that command to repeat itself. And that's the last one. So let me zoom out here and we'll show you that these regions did go to the original timestamped areas and they are kind of showing themselves in sequence further down the timeline. All right, so now we're going to build this from scratch together. Let me click the demo button. I'm going to pin the action building window. I'm going to add an action, a relative mouse click to be precise. And then we need to pick the UI element it's going to target. I find clicking the empty space under instrument column is the most stable because then you get the Pro Tools selected track. And then I'll just show you kind of this is where you find the elements you want to have displayed. Okay, so now we need to focus on the X and the Y coordinates relative to what we selected. So I found that the mid-rightmost section is what works. Essentially, this is just clicking to the right of the track height ruler. So the next thing I'm going to do is add an wait action, and that's going to basically give a little bit more stability to this command so it doesn't zip through and miss a step. So I found that adding a general wait of 20 milliseconds seems to be pretty stable for me. See what works with your system. All right, so I'm going to add a mouse click relative to a UI element here as the next action. Let me pick it here. It's going to be the OK button in the Spot dialog. And actually, I'm going to change this to the first focused window. Now I need to set the coordinates, so I don't actually want it to click the OK button. I want it to hit the original timestamp. And so I've worked out that these values are what are going to work to get there. And that's relative to the top right of the OK button. So we'll just test this out now. Let me disable the first two steps here. We'll go back in and then hit that button a few times and see what happens. Okay, so I'm tapping it, and as I tap it, you can kind of see the ghost image of the mouse displaying right over that button. So right on target. I'm pleased with that. So now I'm going to make active the first two steps of this macro, and then we'll go back into Pro Tools and see if the selected region does what it's supposed to. Yep, that has the value that we want. Now in an ideal world, I'll set myself up for success by having it automatically select the next region below. I'm going to add a press keys action here, and then let's record a sequence. We'll go with enter on the numeric pad followed by semicolon, and then Command A, and that should select the next region below, after spotting that first region, of course. So you'll notice I'm in grid mode at the moment and nothing's going to happen. So I just want to reiterate the importance that you're in spot mode when you run this macro. And rather than having to press the button a billion times for every single clip that you have, I want to make sure that I show you how to very quickly repeat the action as many times as you need. So for instance, I know that I need to repeat this 25 times because there's 25 clips in this session. I'm just going to add another column, so I have an empty button, and we'll call this empty button demo multi. Yeah, and then I'm going to go into the action builder, so add new macro, hit OK. And then we'll pin this and add the first action. So I'm going to type in repeat, and you'll notice repeat n times is the first thing that comes up. So now we just go over into the macro column on the left. You'll see the decks at the top and then the macros that we've made. I'll pull the demo over, and then let's double check. Is it 25? Yeah, it's 25. And then I will type in 25 times here. Okay, so ideally this is going to do it 25 times. Let's run it. There it goes. Yeah, so this holds true for any macro that you make in Soundflow. You know, if you want to be able to repeat an action, just use that little guy. You can pull your macro, click and drag it over into the action field, and then at the top designate, you know, what you want the end value to be, how many times you want the action to perform. And in the time it took me to say that, it finished spotting all the files, all 25 of them, to the timeline right where I wanted them to be, their original time-stamped locations. When using these macros, you want to make sure the audio region is at least as far as the sub counter. I found that's pretty stable. Additionally, the track height does matter. It will perform on small. I find medium to be pretty stable, but mini and micro, you're probably not going to have anything working because it just won't see what it needs to click on. And I'll point out here, there is a button that I made that will resize all the tracks to medium to save you the trouble. And medium will work, anything larger than that'll work, anything smaller than small, and you'll run into trouble. I'm pleased to say this will be available shortly in the Soundflow App Store. My hope is that you'll be able to take these commands, copy and paste them, and then put them in your own decks and arrange them in a way that makes most sense to you. So here's hoping to save you some time.